Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. I am your host, Benjamin Camperman, and today we've got a Broncos kind of only. We're going to be talking AFC. We're going to be going through it like most of the AFC picture. We're going to go through a little bit of the Rookie of the Year conversation with Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. That's kind of starting to heat up as we're getting towards the end of the season. But it's going to be mostly Broncos today. This is my coworker, Kyle Beck,
Yeah,
Broncos super fan. He's going to be here with me to break it all down today. How are you doing today? And I'm excited. Because I'm going to learn a lot from you about a team that, I follow, but I'm a Niners fan. So do I follow them that closely? No. So I'm going to learn a lot of that from you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Broncos country. Let's ride, baby. Super Bowl bound, baby. Let's go.
We're going to get to a little bit of Sean Payton talk and everything he's done, but it's to me, before we start this, it's impressive to see how he's transformed a organization that was kind of in shambles in 2 years. This is second year, so
kind of. Bro, I've been struggling since I was 14 years old out here, dude. And here we are.
So we were talking backstage. How do you want to quickly get into quickly covering the Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter?
Travis Hunter, man.
You saw that he won the Heisman. I know that we both thought it should have been Genty.
It's tough because Hunter plays both sides, and don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal football player. He is very good at football. He's good at what he does. Both sides of the field. But I just think it just almost feels like it's a popularity contest at that point with him winning, because he really didn't affect the game of football as much as Genty did this season. And especially college football. I don't watch too much college, but I know damn well that what Genty did has not been done in a long time. And yeah, same with Travis Hunter. So you can kind of argue that both ways. But I just think the stats don't lie in that scenario. And
he was on to what? He's already got 2,000 yards. I think
plus,
he already has
2,000 plus,
and then
20 plus touchdowns. I think it's
that is. Go ahead, sorry.
6 touchdowns or something like that. So maybe more. I don't have the stats, but
led his team to the first. Their first playoff appearance in school history. Boise State's first playoff appearance in school history. That's pretty impressive. And then they were comparing stats with Derrick Henry when he won his Heisman. He has less rushing. Genty has more rushing yards than Henry did when Henry won his Heisman. And you play both sides of the ball, but it's just with Travis Hunter, I feel media, like you said, media popularity. Yep. It's Deion Sanders' team compared to, the Boise State team that doesn't get a ton of media coverage.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that blue football field, though. I think that field's sick.
Dude, I know. Every time I see it, it's just hey, I know turf is not great for football players. They get a lot of injuries on it, but that's pretty cool.
Well, gosh, what's that one team? Did you see that all black football field? I feel like it's a smaller school. I don't remember.
I've not known.
But they literally made an all black field. I'm and it's not in a dome or anything. It's an outside field that's all black. That's got to be the hottest football field to play.
Do they have a track around it too?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, in the freaking spring. Me of all people, because we go down to Grand Junction to we have a few meets on the Grand Junction, the Stoker Stadium out there. CMU.
The JUCO field
football.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, it gets so hot on that green turf. Imagine on that black turf during track, you would be melting
cooking.
I hope it's a dome what you're talking about, because
it's not. It's outside. It's outside.
Damn.
It's crazy. I don't know why they did it, but it looks cool. But it's your players are out there playing in the heat, and it's a black field. That's just not a good
that's rough. But let's get to our first topic. Let's give the people what they asked for. Let's talk Rookie of the Year. So today, just to quickly break down what we're going to be talking about. I know that the topic of this, or the title of this show, was Pretenders or Contenders. We'll get to that more towards the end of the show. but and then we've got obviously breakouts for the Broncos. We've got improvements that we need to see from them if they're going to become a contender, if they are already. And then we're breaking down the Colts versus Broncos game a little towards the end of this show. But let's get to the first thing. We're looking big picture. We're looking a few months ahead. Now, I feel like if you would have asked me probably a month ago who wins Rookie of the Year, you're saying Jaden Daniels.
100%.
But now I feel like 4 or 5 games later, Nix has closed the gap a little bit. So Bo Nix really hitting his stride. What have we seen from him improve? Because I know he was struggling a little bit in the early parts of the season. What have we seen him improve on? And who gets your vote, Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix? I feel like I know where you're going to lean here a little bit, but go ahead.
I do got to add one thing. I don't think we should keep Bucky Irving out of the question either, because I think he's also, it's going to go to a quarterback, because this year was just quarterback loaded, and it's either going to be Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels. I'm going to just be real. But Bucky Irving has made some big steps. But to your question, I think at the start of the season, mainly it's, Bo Nix is working with nobodies. Cortland Sutton is his best wide receiver. And obviously if you play fantasy football, I'm sure you can name Devon Vele now. But at the start of the season, you're like, who's Devon Vele? And some people know Josh Reynolds, but now he's hurt. The Broncos cut him. Not on the team. So we got Devon Vele, Marvin Mims, who we hardly use for some reason. But now we're, anyways, Bo Nix, I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think his pocket presence has gotten better. He's able to stay in the pocket more. I think at the start of the year, he was a little, I wouldn't say nervous, but he was a little too quick to just give up his options. He would look past his options too quickly and just rush, which is not bad. But I see that as more of a Justin Fields kind of player. You look to your first option, it's not there, you're just rushing. You're going. There's no second or third option. If Sutton's locked up, rush the ball. But I think as of recently, he's been throwing it down the field more. That 93-yard touchdown pass on the Monday Night Football.
The Marvin Mims one where he just lasered it in between two defenders. That pass,
that pass by itself won him Rookie of the Year this year in my eyes, because that was the most beautiful pass I've seen since Peyton Manning was on the field for the Broncos. And no other quarterback that the Broncos have drafted or had on their team since Peyton Manning could make a throw like that, or at least did when they played for the Broncos. That pass alone was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I almost shed a tear, if I'm being real here. And,
Yeah.
But anyways, I think his pocket presence has gotten better. I just love that he can use his legs too. That's always just something he can fall back on. I made it sound like kind of a bad, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that he can rush the ball, Gosh, what else, man? The stats don't lie. His completion percentage isn't as good as it was in college, but that's a given. The NFL is just a harder league. The cornerbacks get paid top dollar to lock down receivers and deflect the balls and whatnot,
Well, still, and what's go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say still, he has those games against the Falcons where he had I don't have the stats pulled up, but over 80% completion percentage.
Yeah, it was, I was looking, it was 88.
Yeah, something like that, which for a rookie, you don't see that. I think that broke a record. If I might be wrong, but I don't think a rookie has had that many passing attempts with that much completion percentage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could look that up for sure. What is
dude, I don't even know how you'd word that. But if we flip the script to Jaden Daniels' side, I feel like he has more pieces to work with on his team, offensively at least. Austin Eckler at RB2. I know he's out now, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's got Terry McLaurin. He's got, all these wide receivers. Even Luke McCaffrey, rookie, he's he's there. You can feel his presence. I mean, he's not having like a breakout year or anything, but he's got these players that help him put up
So
some stats, you know.
as far as stats goes, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have Daniels 15 TDs to 6 interceptions, Bo Nix 17 TDs to 8 interceptions. Um, and then he has a slightly lower completion rate on the season. But what
Yeah.
I really look for when you're looking for, let's say, I think what makes a quarterback stand out amongst his peers, his competition is how do you face against the toughest teams? Both of these teams were, I believe, the Commanders were like third last year in the division. Broncos were, was it last? Did you guys get last year?
Uh yeah, if I
Third or
remember
fourth?
correctly, we were either last or right above the
Right.
Raiders, or the
So
Chargers.
either way, it's like your both schedules were decently easy. I'm not saying that. I mean, every schedule is going to have its toughest. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to have its lumps, but both schedules were pretty easy. Both quarterbacks haven't played like a ton of tough teams with a ton of tough defenses, but I'm really looking at how do you perform against those toughest teams? Bo Nix against the Ravens. Now, the Ravens defense definitely taken a huge step back this season, but you still have a Derrick Henry led. I mean, that offense was incredible. 19 for 33 against the Ravens, 223 yards.
Which,
you have the one
let me
interception.
add,
Yeah,
the Broncos did still hold Derrick Henry under 100 rushing yards that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, you know, when I look back at that game, I think that's more of just like it was an away game in the Ravens stadium. You know, obviously, like the Ravens were going pretty hot at that point. Like, I think they've lost 2 games since that game that they beat the Broncos, like 2 or 3 games. But at the time, like they were running pretty hot, and
Yeah.
I think they had that. I think they just had that momentum. The Broncos were on the road. It felt like a weird week that week, and I don't want to say that was a fluke game, because I think if they see each other here in the playoffs, I think it'll be a little bit different. I think the Broncos defense will step up more. But it's so hard with the Ravens, dude, because they got Lamar Jackson and he's just dual threat. You know, yeah.
And so it's just like, okay, so then you say, how did he do against the Chiefs? He was 20 for 33. Definitely, I don't think, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the reason why they lost that game.
Broncos won that game. Broncos country knows it. Chiefs country knows it. Everyone knows that the Broncos won that game.
And then he had a 115 QB rating, which for you guys that don't know, I mean, an 80 is an average. So it's like he played well in that game.
For a rookie to go against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and put those numbers up, I mean, and to lose the game, of course, because the Chiefs just worked their dark magic or whatever.
And the best defensive coordinator, probably arguably in the league. I mean, he actually did decent against Chiefs defense that, has taken a step back, but they're still well coached and everything. And they know how to pick apart rookie quarterbacks. So then you flip the script to Jayden Daniels, who, against Pittsburgh, let's say hard defense. So Chiefs defense, I would still agree, is like a top 10 defense. You flip the script.
For sure.
Jayden Daniels plays Pittsburgh, 17 for 34. We could look up, let's see, I have his rating pulled up right here. It's like a 68 quarterback rating, not a great game, 17 for 34, just averaged like 5 yards per completion or whatever. And then you had him against Philly, and I watched that game with my brothers, and I mean, that offense could not move the ball. Now, obviously that game was while he was injured, but against good defenses, tougher opponents, Nix this year has looked better. Now, I will say the one thing I have Jayden Daniels kind of over Nix is that I feel like the coaching probably on the Commanders isn't as good. I don't have a lot of faith in Kingsbury and what he's done. But as far as just performances against tougher teams, I would give that to Nix. So anyway, I don't know if you want to comment on that. That was kind of a long-winded explanation.
No, I mean, I agree. And I was kind of rambling a little bit too. But I think, in my opinion, the Ravens game was kind of just a throwaway. Like, I mean, now that we're in the playoff picture, it would have been like really nice to win that game, especially for tiebreakers, because right now we have the same record as the Ravens, but they have the tiebreaker over us. So do the Chargers. That's why, this Colts game coming up, which we'll get to later, must win. Let me just put it that way. Must win Colts game. Chargers game, must win. But yeah, I think against harder opponents like the Chiefs, I think Bo Nix is shining bright like a diamond, and I'm looking forward to these playoffs coming up here, and I'm looking forward to see him holding that Rookie of the Year trophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I'm rooting for both guys. I really like how Jaden Daniel. I mean, he shock of a season for the Commanders just in general. How he's able to elevate, but that's the thing with both guys that I like. It's like they're both they've elevated their number one wide receivers and just guys around them so much, whether it be McLaurin or and then Sutton with Bo Nix and everything else. It's just like, yeah, it's impressive to see. But do you want to move on? Do you have anything else to say on that topic?
Yeah. Let's keep this ball rolling here.
So we're talking about players. We talked a lot about Bo Nix last segment. What are let's draft. I mean, we don't have to draft them, but at least like first top 3 breakouts so far, barring Bo Nix. I mean, I guess we could add him in there, but kind of skill position players. What are the top 3 breakouts from the Broncos roster? And then what about what Sean Payton is doing with this team is so impressive. I know that he's taken them in just 2 years from being a bottom team in the league and now a potential Super Bowl contender who could make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't like that word potential. We're winning the Super Bowl this year, baby. Super Bowl 50. What is it this year? Super Bowl
59.
59. Yeah. Okay, maybe next year, but just kidding. Yeah, I guess with the picking our 3. I'm gonna have to pick 2 defensive players.
Yeah,
just because the defense is just unreal this season. I mean, they're like the defense is, and that's the thing too with all these losing years, like different defensive coordinators and whatnot. The defense has stayed pretty consistent. I mean, there might be 2 years since we won the Super Bowl that the defense has been pretty rough, but other than that, like the defense has been good. But this year especially, they're just shining. I mean, 3 picks last game, 2 pick sixes. I mean, I know it's Jameis Winston, and that's just kind of a given. You're going to get a couple picks, but still. Number 1, I'm going to have to go with Nick Bonitto because when we picked him up, I had, high faith in him. First season, it was a little rough. I think I'm trying to remember who our DC was at the time. Oh, it's not coming to me. Might have been Fangio. No, but he was head coach. I don't know.
When was Joseph's your guys' DC?
Who?
Vance Joseph.
Last season and this season.
Okay.
And then he was our head coach in either, I think it was 2017 to 2019. That could be off by a year or 2, but anyways, Nick Bonitto, outstanding season. I mean, he's second on the sacks list right now. I have his stats right here. Yeah, I mean,
do you want me to pull this up or?
Yeah, pull him up. I mean, 13 tackles for loss, 36 tackles. I mean, but for a linebacker, that's kind of whatever. But I mean, yeah, he's played every single game this season. And he had that pick 6 last week on Monday Night Football. I think, 11 sacks. I mean, we haven't had a 10-plus sack guy since Bradley Chubb and Von Miller back before they both got traded. And it's great to see our defense actually sacking quarterbacks out here and whatnot. And Nick Bonitto's leading the way for that. And honestly, I could make a decent argument that he could win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I think Surtain would be a better pick for that.
Isn't it Watt and Surtain like the?
Yeah, they're like they're the 2 leaders. I don't think TJ Watt deserves it at all.
when I saw that he wasn't the top of the sack leaders, I was like, so then why is he in the defensive player of the year consideration? Like usually that goes to a defensive end who actually like has the sacks and is
Yeah.
putting up
Well,
crazy numbers.
that's
But
what I'm saying. Like you can make an argument for both Nick Benito and Surtain. I mean, I think it would be dope if Surtain won it. I mean, the only issue with that is people look at the stats, and yeah, Surtain's stats, they don't look the greatest on paper, but if you watch the games, they don't throw his way. There's every quarterback in the entire NFL is scared of Patrick Surtain. They will not throw his way because they know damn well that ball's either going to get tipped up, someone else is going to pick it, he's going to pick it, run it back 100 yards just like he did against the Raiders earlier this season. I mean, the guy is unreal. He's the best cornerback in the league. His contract shows that. He's the highest paid cornerback. I mean, unreal. Anyways, that was a little rambling session.
No, you're good. You're good.
Probably hide the screen again, but yeah, I mean,
do you want me to
player?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
second player, Zach Allen. I mean, here, let me see if I can scroll for him. Yeah, Zach Allen right here. Do they show? Let's see here. Okay, they don't show his pressures, but I'm pretty sure he's still number one in quarterback pressures this season. I mean, 5 sacks, not really the greatest, but you know, I mean, with his pressures this season, like he's been forcing the quarterbacks to get the ball out within like 1.8 seconds or something like that on average, which like that means he's getting there. Like he's getting to the QBs. He might not be the one getting the sack, but he sets up DJ Jones or you know, Nick Benito or Jonathan Cooper. He sets these other guys up to get those sacks, and you know, I don't know. I think he's done amazing this year. It kind of seemed like, I think he was on the Cardinals before. It kind of seemed like they were, you know, people started counting him out. He wasn't doing that great. He was kind of hyped up coming out of college and whatnot, and then didn't do super great with the Cardinals. But I mean, I think he's had a breakout season this year. I mean, 47 tackles, that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's probably my next guy. Let's go back here. Let's see. And then yeah, my next player is it's got to be good old sorry, I'm losing my mind here. Good old Devon Vele. That's probably my third pick right there.
Yeah, 7th round pick, good story. I mean, it's not often that you get to see a player that, I mean, I know Jawan Jennings, like for example, our wide receiver, the Niners wide receiver, 7th round pick, now is kind of the number one wide receiver on their team, but it's not often. It just kind of is a testament to how Sean Payton has drafted. Anyway, you had your thoughts probably on Vele. I'll let you go ahead. But
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, yeah, I think the fact that he's coming out of the 7th round and he's older too. I'm pretty sure he's 25 or 26. Like he's an older guy. Like he was in college for like 6 years, I think, and coming out of University of Utah. Yeah. And you know, I think it's tough because like I think right now he's kind of in the RB2, RB3 kind of role. I think they're mainly keeping him like, or not RB, wide receiver 2 kind of role. And they're kind of keeping him in that right now, which I think is a good thing. Because I mean, bro's like 6'5", you know, 200 plus pounds, and he's quick. That's the thing. He's quick, and he kind of was locked up on Monday Night Football, so it kind of made me sad that like the world couldn't really see what he does. But he had one beautiful catch on like it was he caught it at like the 1 yard line. I think it was just like a 15-yard pass or something like that. But Bo Nix basically threw it at the ground because he was under pressure, and Devon Vele got down there and made that catch. And I mean, those catches when you're close to the ground, it's hard to get your hands under the ball and make sure that football doesn't touch the grass. You know what I mean? And he did that, and like, you know, I mean, he's just been playing phenomenal for a 7th round pick. Just, rookie
Yeah.
getting thrown into an RB. Sorry, I keep saying running back, the wide receiver 2 position, and I think he's good. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why his stats aren't on my screen, but
I could pull him up. I mean, so it says he has 377 yards. Wait, 1 TD. Well, are you serious? Hold on. There's 33 receptions.
I thought he
Is
had.
this right though? On like,
Dude, I was telling you, ESPN. Are you on ESPN?
yeah.
I don't think those
Hold
stats are
on.
right, bro. I just genuinely don't think those. I was looking, and they're
Let me
just
look
not right.
on NFL. Not NFL draft. Let me look NFL.
He might only have 1 touchdown.
Let's look on Football References. Yeah, it says
He
he
only
has
has 1 touchdown.
377.
He only has 1 touchdown, but I mean, like, again, you gotta look at it like he's a 7th round pick. He's not
Yeah.
one of the top wide receivers coming out of the draft. He's not like a Marvin Harrison Jr. He's 7th round pick, older guy, but he's there when you need him. He makes the plays when you need him to make the plays. And when you watch the games, that's what he does. He makes plays. Like if 3rd and long, they throw a 13-yard pass down the field. Vele catches that. Boom, moving down the field. You know what I mean? Like another set of downs. You just keep going, and then sure, Sutton gets the touchdown, or whoever, Jaleel McLaughlin, who honestly, and I'm gonna make this a 4-person kind of thing. Jaleel McLaughlin.
I was about to mention him.
He's gonna be another one of my picks there, because I mean, I love Javonte Williams. I think the season where he carried 3 dudes on his back halfway down the field, that was fantastic. But ACL injury, knee injury last season. I think it was last season. Yeah, it kind of, I think it just kind of slowed him down, and I don't think he's doing the greatest. Where'd you go? Are you?
I think my reception went bad for a
Oh,
second.
okay. I was like, am I just here alone now? Anyways, Javonte Williams not doing that great this season, but what we saw on Monday Night Football was almost the first Broncos 100-yard rusher in I can't remember. Gosh, who was the last 100-yard rusher for the Broncos? I'm trying to remember.
All of last season either? Like your run
we
game
haven't
is that
had
bad
one. We haven't
season?
had one since 2022. We haven't had or
Shit.
either 2021
That's
or 2022 season. We have not had a 100-yard rusher. And Jaleel was at like 87 last game or something, which is like still not the greatest, but he also wasn't getting every single snap. Like they still gave Javonte, I think, like 6 snaps or something like that, and 6 carries, and he just hasn't done much. I mean, like, dude, I have him on my fantasy team, and he just sits on my bench. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
so can I? We're talking about wide receivers. Sorry to interrupt. Did you?
No, you're good, dude.
Well, we're talking wide receivers, and this kind of gets me on a thing. I'm not going to draft a player with kind of what I was going to say, but just the Broncos' entire, like their wide receiver coach, Kiri Colbert or whatever, Colbert. I don't know how you say
Colbert,
that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the way Sean Payton has done structuring his entire system. It's like, it's not easy to get a 7th-round pick and develop him into, I mean, okay, we were looking at the stats, and yes, he has 377 yards, which doesn't look impressive at eye test. But like I said with Juwan Jennings before, I mean, this is like year 4 for him on the Niners team. He was a 7th-round pick, just to kind of reference him to kind of my team. He was a 7th-round pick. It took him a few years to develop. And in his first year, he only had like 400 yards. But receivers like Devon Vele are kind of receivers that, like you said, when they fit a specific role. They're a big man over the middle that could develop into more, like, especially when you're a 7th-round, late-round pick, you're drafting that player because of a specific trait that he has that could develop into more as his career goes on. So that's, I mean, just the way that Colbert has, I mean, I was going to draft like Troy Franklin, another Broncos wide receiver. He's getting nobodies, and he's turning this Broncos pass game into a top 10 passing game. He's
yeah.
getting a rookie quarterback with Courtland Sutton, the only guy that has experience in this room. And so
it's literally all
that's
rookies. We have
yeah.
Courtland Sutton, and I mean, like, Julio's in his second year running back. Javante's like fifth year, I think. But still, like, our wide receiver room is like all rookies right now. Josh Reynolds no longer on the team. I don't know if they signed him to the practice squad or not, but I do know for sure they cut him. So we can just say no longer on the team. Well, but yeah. And then you got Vele, you've got Franklin. I mean, you've got Lil Jordan Humphrey, but like, he's kind of mid, but like, still, like, Bo Nix is out here working with basically nobodies besides Courtland Sutton. And then you know, back to what we were talking about before, you look at Jaden Daniels and like, who does he have? He's got wide receivers. He's got people that you're like, oh yeah, I had him on my fantasy team 2 seasons ago. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
He's got those people, and Bo Nix is doing all this with basically, like, I don't want to say nobodies because I love all these players, but they're basically nobodies. Like, you can't, you'll be talking to a Chiefs fan and you're like, oh yeah, Devon Bailey. They're like, who's that? Who's that? Like,
well, and then you have obviously Courtland Sutton, who's elevated his play to, he was kind of an underrated wide receiver. You kind of knew of him, but you didn't really he wasn't like going to stand out to this year. Now him kind of becoming like a top 15, top 20 wide receiver, somewhere in that range. So it's just like, it's impressive to see what the coach has done, how they've grabbed a bunch of these young players. And honestly, I didn't have a lot of, kind of turning over the Sean Payton thing, I didn't have a lot of faith in Sean Payton. He left that Saints situation in kind of shambles. He had given all these guys contracts. He had given their defensive end Jordan a contract. He had screwed the Saints over as far as money wise goes. Yeah. They were, I think they're just starting to get out of cap hell, but they were bad for a while. And that was a big result of him. And so then I'm saying, okay, he had a few years after Breeze left where the team was kind of aging, kind of what's happening with the Niners now. The team is kind of aging. And then Breeze leaves and he just that team becomes not great. And so I'm thinking, well, Sean Payton, I was kind of comparing Sean Payton to a little bit of like what McCarthy is. It's like, won a Super Bowl a long time ago, but like, are they still, is their coaching style still is it's still in fashion?
Well,
and then,
can I add on to that real quick? Like, so when we had Russell Wilson, right? Like, we bring Russ over, we have fucking Nathaniel Hackett, bro. Like, I'm gonna throw up real quick.
He should be fired.
He should be like a high school, like maybe a high school football coach, dude. Maybe middle school. If we're
the only reason why he's still in the league is because Aaron Rodgers loves him. Anyway, go ahead.
Give him head in the bathroom. I don't know. Anyways, I think like we saw last season, like we'll just go to last season with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Like Russell Wilson, I never thought Russell Wilson was like trash. I mainly saw the whole situation as Russ just doesn't fit Sean's scheme. Like Russ just isn't Sean's kind of player. And because, you see Russ go over to Pittsburgh and he's doing decent, I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't like Russell Wilson, but I don't think he's a bad football player. Like, I'm just, I'm going to be real. Do I think he's out of his prime? Fuck yeah. Like, I think if the Broncos get into the 6th seed in the wild card and they play the Steelers, I think we're fucking, we're killing them. But yeah, with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson last year, I just don't think that was a good mix, and it clearly did not work out. But then you bring in Bo Nix, who's kind of like a Drew Brees, like kind of Drew Brees-ish kind of player. Like Drew Brees didn't really have the legs that Bo Nix has, but like, gosh, who would you compare Bo Nix to?
He's slightly bigger than Drew Brees.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
you can kind of compare them with their like arm talents.
No, I would think. Ooh, gosh. Current or like still play? Because like right now, like still in the league, I would honestly
like Justin Herbert, kind of.
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Like,
that's a really good one.
And it's kind of ironic because they both came out of Oregon too, but it's
Yeah. I mean, that's a good comp. But I mean, just how Sean Payton has kind of proven, I mean, he's proven me wrong. Like I was saying before, it's just like I didn't know what a coach, like how much of a coach he was until he kind of goes and he drafts his quarterback and just like immediately takes off with this offense and this team. So it's impressive to see him kind of silence a lot of the critiques I had about him.
yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say on this, but we could move on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got that. Yeah, I do think that I don't know, some people I did notice like last season some people were kind of on the page of like maybe Sean Payton's the problem and like, he's just coming in here being a dick and like, but I think we
Yeah.
see that it was just both of them not mixing and, this year rookie quarterback we're 8-5.
Mm-hmm.
We just had our bye week. We're 8-5. Playoffs are I mean,
Very real.
honestly, a game away. If we beat the Colts, we're in a very good spot to make the playoffs. Like if we beat the Colts and the Dolphins lose any of their next games, we're in the playoffs.
So
So
that's a great transition though.
yeah. So let's
With the
transition.
improvements so far, hey, you did a great job right there for transitioning the topics. Nice job. So with the
Appreciate it.
improvement so far of this Broncos team, do you see them being a Super Bowl contender come January? And if not, what still needs to happen for them to get there? I mean, do you want to start? Should I think with me personally, I think you've got to figure out who your number one running back is. I know a running back room is good, but I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have kind of a running back that you see them leaning on moving forward? I know that, again, you look at McLaughlin. I mean, I was seeing someone else say that like his body type isn't exactly the guy who can handle 20 carries. But establishing a run game would be something, or more of a run game would be something that I would maybe do, because it's like when you face a Bills team, for example, I feel like they're at least going to score. I mean, I know the Broncos defense is really good, but I feel like a lot of the offense has been kind of relying on what they can do with Bo Nix throwing the ball. But if you face a top offense like the Bills with Josh Allen and you're leading to a shootout, I feel like you're not going to be able to keep up with, especially that Bills team. And it's just, that's where I think they could maybe improve. Is just like, I don't know if I would trust Bo Nix yet in the playoffs, especially if you're playing on the road, maybe first, second round. Now we could pull up real quick the playoff picture, because I could share the screen real quick.
Yeah, you go for it.
But yeah, I mean, whatever thoughts you have on this topic, I just think that, let's see here. So the first, I mean, even if, okay, so let's say you get 6th seed and then you play the Steelers. I mean, I think you could easily get past the first round, but it's really kind of when you start to face teams like the Chiefs, Bills.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, here I can kind of break down my thoughts. Like since we're looking at the playoff picture right here, anyway, right now, let's just say theoretically here, Chargers lose a couple, which if we're being real, they have a really they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. I mean, easier than the Broncos. But if they lose a couple games and we get ahead of them, nice. If the Ravens, which I don't think they're going to lose too many more games, but if the Ravens lose a couple more games, we get ahead of them, nice. We play the Texans first round. If we play the Texans first round, we're going to the second round, bro, because I do not think the Texans are a legitimate playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they're 8-5, but CJ Stroud has just struggled this season. And I don't think CJ Stroud is a bad quarterback, but I just think that they just, Diggs is out. Nico Collins is coming off injury. I think if we do end up playing the Texans, which is going to be like I don't want to say near impossible, but it'll be hard to get up to that 5th seed. It would be the 5th seed, right?
Yeah,
let me pull it up on my screen so I can see it too.
Yeah, here, let me get the share. Do you want to share yours? Hold on, let me remove
No,
that.
you know you can have yours up. Yours is fine.
Okay.
Anyways, okay, yeah, let me get back here. Anyways, if we play the Steelers, I also think we win. My only
Yeah.
concern is us. I mean, genuinely playing the Bills. That's my main concern. Is if we play the Bills, that's kind of going to be a tough game. Um, I
Let's go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
I think I don't know. Anyways, we were talking Super Bowl, and I agree with you 100% on the running back room. I this season it hurts. It kills me. It doesn't hurt me. It kills me to say this, but I don't believe we could win a Super Bowl this season. We could make it to the Super Bowl, but I just we have that missing piece, and that's our running back. And what I
Yeah.
do think is we have decent draft capital this year. I think we got basically like a pick in every single round, besides maybe the 5th round, I think, and then we have a couple 6 rounders and whatnot. But here's kind of my big picture idea here. We trade a couple players, like we trade Javonte Williams with a pick or two. We move up in the draft. We aim, this is coming full circle here, Ben. We aim for Genty. We try and go draft him, right? And I mean, I think he's going to go pretty high in the draft. But if you're
Yeah.
looking at the teams, but if you look at the teams that are struggling this year, like Raiders and Jacksonville and all these teams, they do have running backs on their roster, and they have pretty
Mhm.
decent running backs. So it's a possibility to where we could maybe end up drafting him. Regardless, there's other running backs in the draft, or we could even trade.
The kid out of Arizona State
I was
is,
gonna say,
yeah.
gosh, my buddy takes pictures for them, and I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, me either.
dude,
I
I
honestly
was gonna
didn't.
say that'd be a cool guy to get on here as my buddy. He takes pictures for like NBA
Yeah.
and he's like the main photographer for Arizona State. It's pretty
Dang.
dope. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, back on topic here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this
you're good.
season, yeah, no, we're good. This season, I don't really see like a big Super Bowl win. I mean, that I would be happy if we could. Like that would be best thing ever. But we're just missing that key piece, and that key piece is a running back. I think if they are moving forward, I mean, they have to move forward with what we got right now. Um, I think they need to use Audric Estime and Julio McLaughlin for like long downs, especially Julio for long downs. Like if it's like a 2nd and long and we need to like get some yards back for like, to set up a pass, or if it's 3rd and 8 or something and we're rushing. It can't be Javonte because he doesn't get there. But goal line, I think Javonte could work goal line because I think goal line Javonte is just he's strong. He can push through that line, and Jalil's just smaller, and I don't think he's got the push. He's better for like a pitch out or like a screen pass or like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way they can get that ball rolling on the running side is if they do some mix of Estime Jalil, early long downs, whatever. Javonte more goal line rushing, like, maybe like second, 3rd and 1, 2nd and 1 kind of plays, like put him in there to just push through and get the first down because he's just bigger. He's got the build for it, but it's rough in the running back room.
Well, and
Being
what I
real
would
here.
say I mean, I don't know. I know that running backs this season have especially become a lot more valuable. I'd say I mean, Genty is nice, like nice new toy, but like as far as drafting one, I would see you guys maybe waiting like 2nd, 3rd round. I mean, again, as the draft approaches, I'll look a lot more into those
Dude,
prospects
and
there.
yeah, we
I
gotta
know
make some videos on that because
yeah.
we'll be rolling with that shit.
I mean, Caleb said Colston Loveland. I'm a Michigan fan for everyone who doesn't know. I freaking love Colston Loveland. I would love to see you guys get him because he's a really good tight end for us. And then, yeah, so
Well, and that's
I don't know.
another
I
thing
guess
too. I mean, we do need a tight end. And
Mhm.
I agree with that. we had,
What happened to Dulcich?
I was gonna say Dulcich, bro, like wide open twice in a game, just fucking drops a pass. Like, and he wasn't getting open. He wasn't blocking well. Like, gone, just gone. I mean, he's healthy, but he just wasn't doing it. I mean, Adam Troutman, Lucas Kroll, they're both locked down. Like, and that's what I like about them is they're like, because I played tight end in school, and they're good at blocking. The main thing as a tight end is you need to be good at blocking, and if you can't block, then there's no point of you being out there. Even if it's just like a chip block, you block, go out, run your route. Like that chip block better be like you're setting the guy back a second and a half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
So
and then yeah, like our tight end room, just like they're not quick. They're not no George Kittle or I hate to say it, but Travis Kelsey. But anyway.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
So should we break down the Broncos Colts game first, or should we get to the wild card teams kind of continuation into this next topic?
Sorry, say that again.
So yeah, I mean let's get to the wild card teams because this will be more of a
oh yeah, for sure.
Last like a Spitfire topic.
Yeah.
But what are these wild card teams, pretenders or contenders? Now, when I say this, at first we were saying, okay, I was naming like the Chiefs and the Bills. Obviously, they're contenders. You have Josh Allen, you have Patrick Mahomes, like they're going to be contenders. But I'm going to name teams that are more in like that.
Chiefs are pretenders. Like that. I'm just gonna say that right now. Chiefs are pretenders. Dude, I think they've won 12. Like all of their games have been by one score this season. It's actually ridiculous that they're 12-1, and every single game that they've won this season has been by one score or less, or like by one score, like a field goal or a touchdown.
So similar to the Eagles last year. It's like last year they started off 10-1, and then they lost like the last 5 out of the 6. No, I want to say like 4 out of the 5.
Whatever it was, whatever it was. But it's like it's crazy to me that the Chiefs keep winning these games because like last week against the Chargers, again, like just like the 49ers game this week, the most boring game I've ever watched, and then they win it by a doink in field goal. It doinks in, bro. Like, and when they beat the Broncos, they blocked the kick. Like
they were about to lose to the Panthers.
Dude, like Bryce Young and the Panthers, bro. I think there were two. I think they had 2 wins when they went against the Chiefs, maybe 3. I don't know, but bro, I don't know.
So let's start off with the Chargers. And again, I completely agree. I completely agree with you because you have, I don't know. I think the Chiefs, I mean, they're well coached, whatever, but yeah, a lot of times you see teams that start off like that. The Vikings the year before last, the Eagles last year. It's just like eventually somebody's going to figure them out. I think that team is the Bills. Could be the Broncos too. But I mean, the one thing that the Chiefs have over them is they're going to be probably, what are they, the first seed right now? And it's looking like that way. So if they can like manage to squeak their way past some more of these wins, it's like you have the first seed. And now, yeah, I mean, you haven't been playing great in the regular season, but if you get the first seed, everything goes through Arrowhead. And then it's really, I mean, we all know how tough it is to win there. So it's just like, okay, now you have to win an Arrowhead. Now it's like, I mean, they played poorly last season and they were really good in the playoffs. So we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't count out the Chiefs right now, but the Chargers. So let's start off with the Chargers. I think for me, the criteria for me, okay, what experience does this coach have in the playoffs? Currently, the Chargers are sitting at the 6th seed. Now with their schedule, I think the Broncos, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you said this earlier, but I think the Broncos have a good shot of jumping them there. But for me, I think you have Jim Harbaugh. I think it's going to really be important if they get J.K. Dobbins back because their run game has taken a massive hit with them out. Yep. And if they can't run the ball, their offense the last 2 weeks has looked so bad. And so
I agree.
I think I'm gonna say Pretenders.
I don't even think it's been the last 2 weeks. I genuinely think it's been all season. I mean,
Yeah,
they had the rush game early in the season, and like I I think Justin Herbert's a great quarterback, but they don't have the weapons. Like they're
yeah,
relying
exactly.
on Lad McConkey, their rookie wide receiver right now. Which
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, he's doing great. He's not playing bad at all. He looks like a great wide receiver. But I think when it comes down to it in the playoffs, I mean, they have the number one defense in the league right now. And I don't think you can really contest that. I mean, that maybe top 5, but the Chargers have a very good defense this season. Obviously led by John Harbaugh, right? Or is it Jim? I always switch them.
Jim
Jim
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh.
Yep.
Yeah, I always switch them.
I
Jim
wish he was
Harbaugh led
still
defense.
Michigan, bro.
Yeah, I
I
know.
miss him so much.
Get the
Anyway,
fuck out of the league. Anyways, I think it's tough to say, really. I think when the Broncos play the Chargers next week, we'll really kind of see where the Chargers looking, because I can't say right now. I can't say it because their offense looks kind of mid, but their defense looks really good. And Broncos fans know defense wins championships. I mean, Super Bowl 50, bro. Peyton Manning barely even played that season, and then they come in and I mean he throws one touchdown pass.
yeah,
The defense just stomped on fucking the Panthers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
well, defense wins championships, but if that offense can't get anything rolling here,
Yeah, I think again this team is a team that first year head coach, they got stripped bare bones their roster last year. So it's I don't think it's really fair to like say, okay, pretender or contender, but we just had to add them in there. It's impressive to see what they're doing so far. And I think Justin Herbert, if you just give him a number one wide receiver, you draft one, whatever, and I mean he's gonna be he's like a player that for the Chargers, like he's like a very underrated player because he could be a top 5 quarterback, but for most of his career, he's either had shitty coaching or no weapons or a terrible offensive line. So, but moving on, let's get to
did you say pretender or contender for them?
I'll say pretender. Yeah.
I'm going to agree with pretender this season. I think, like you said, if they go and draft their top guy, wide receiver, or they pick up a wide receiver, then maybe next season we'll see. But this season, I think pretender.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways. This is a little bit more of a juicy one though. Texans. I think before Stephon Diggs got injured, they were playing really good, and then injuries have kind of hit them, and now it's like CJ Stroud kind of struggling, and it's like. Now, I mean, Nico Collins is starting to find his stride after that injury that he sustained like back in week 5. But I don't know. What do you think about the Texans here?
I'm going to have to say pretender again because, look, I actually love CJ Stroud. I think he's a very good quarterback. I really haven't watched too many of the games this season, so I don't really know exactly what is going on. Because he's throwing like it seems like he's almost throwing like 2 picks a game plus, and he's taking sacks. Like I know they probably don't have the greatest offensive line, but still, it's like they're winning games, but they're winning games against bad teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it's kind of just like a shit show, but not a shit show for the Texans. It just seems like it's kind of a mess that needs to be cleaned up in certain areas for it to all kind of start rolling again.
Well, I mean, I think they need to get offensive line this season.
They need O-line. They need Diggs back healthy because like you saw early in the season, like when they won those games, like Diggs was doing good. Collins was doing good. Even Tank Dell was doing good. And it's kind of weird because when Collins and Diggs got hurt, Tank Dell was basically doing nothing. I think he had 1 game with 100 receiving yards, and I don't even think he had a touchdown. No,
I mean, again, offensive line. I think defensively, their cornerbacks aren't doing as well as they would have hoped for. I know that they drafted. Was it Patrick? No, not Patrick Queen. It's the guy that they drafted out of LSU. He hasn't been as great this year. And then, yeah, I mean, I think for me, they have a big test against the Dolphins this week. But
Here,
for
hold
me,
on. Can I make a pause real quick? I just see Caleb in the bottom here asking thoughts on Travis winning the Heisman.
Yeah,
we talked about it earlier.
Let's get to the comments. Actually,
yeah, we talked about it earlier, but we both agree that it should have been Genty.
Genty, yeah.
I love Travis Hunter, but yeah, it just feels like a popularity kind of thing.
Well, and
we talked about that earlier. So
yeah, so I mean, skip backwards if you want to in the live, because
it's like right at the start, basically right when we started the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say what's up to a few guys, people in the comments. Caleb's in here. Chiefs have incredible coaching and experience, which is their best virtue. Boring as fuck to watch, though.
Yeah.
I'd say that pretty much sums up their season. Every win is like freaking stress level.
I hate I can't stand to watch a Chiefs game. I mean, I hate the Chiefs, but yeah,
Bo Nix enjoyer is in here. Why aren't chats showing up on screen? It's more YouTube. You kind of have to pull them up. I think Chargers and Broncos very similar. I mean, not similar.
I was going to add that too when we were talking about the Chargers. I think they're very similar. Chargers, new head coach, Broncos, new quarterback. And it's kind of the same thing. There's just missing pieces both ways. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, dude, I'd be stroking it to Bo Nix too. If we're being real here. Like that 93-yard touchdown pass that he threw on Monday Night Football. Oh my God, bro. Beautiful. Rookie of the year right there. Anyways.
Max Crosby said he was going to sack both Falcons QBs. Wait. Was it Kirk Cousins and then who was
Michael Penis?
Oh, yeah.
But he's out for the season now.
Yeah, that was another big news that came out of today.
Don't touch my cousin's Phoenix. That's funny.
Anyway,
anyways, back on track here. My bad. I just wanted to read that comment.
Do you want to move on to the Steelers? No.
Anyways, Texans, Pretenders. I'm
gonna say if everything breaks right, okay, let's say real quick. I just want to quickly pull this up again. Let's say they win the AFC South. They get the first game at home. The biggest thing is if they play the Ravens, that's going to be a good game. But I think they're not going to be able. I mean, that's another thing. It's like their run defense. They're like bottom 10. I want to say they're between the 20 and 30 range of stopping the run. So no, I don't think they win that game. But yeah, let's move on. Steelers. That's another interesting one. It's like, okay, I think Russell Wilson, we were talking about Russell Wilson earlier and how you didn't like him. Obviously, no Broncos fan does. I don't blame you because he kind of just ripped your guys' heart out and made you spend a bunch of picks on just a waste of years. But anyway, what I want to say,
$200+ million, dude.
What I want to say with him is I think he's found the right system with Arthur Smith. I know a lot of people like to clown Arthur Smith, but I think he's found a system kind of similar to back in Seattle where he had so much success, a system where you can just lean on the defense, lean on the run game, and just is asked to make short throws and play behind a decent offensive line and just not asked to throw the ball a ton. I think this Steelers team, if they can continue to play the defense, they continue to play how they've been playing, their run game is continuing to click, they're going to be a hard team to slow down. I think you put Russell Wilson if a game gets high, if the score gets high and you start to lean on his arm a little bit, I think he's going to end up making a few mistakes, few interceptions. But where they're sitting right now, the third seed, I mean, okay, you're going to play, let's say the Broncos first round. That's going to be tough, but it's also in Mercedes-Benz Field. It's going to be cold. It's in January. Let's say your team is more experienced, the Broncos. I don't know. I think they're a team that if everything if everything breaks right, yeah, they're a second round team. I just don't think you're going into Buffalo. I think I'm going to say contender here, but I don't think you're in the second round going into Buffalo and winning that game. But with the defense, I think you can really do anything. So,
yeah, I agree. It hurts me to say it, but I do think Russ kind of found his system outside of Seattle.
yeah.
And I would go on a limb here and say that the Steelers are probably going to be contenders. Just because, like, let's just say, Nick Bonito comes off the line, blows up Russell Wilson, gives him CTE, kills him basically, which I would pay money to see. I mean, what? Anyways, they have Justin Fields. Pause. In game. They have Justin Fields backup, and not to mention the Steelers' defense this season, good, like above average for sure. I mean, probably top 5 as well. But so is the Broncos. But yeah, I don't know. That's basically what I got to say on the Steelers. I don't really pay too much attention to them right now. I do know that they did beat us early in the season, which kind of, sets the tone a little bit about how that game might go. But I think Bo Nix has came a long way since that Steelers game. And I think it'd be a different story a second time around. But it would also be storybook of Russell Wilson going up against Bo Nix and the Broncos in the playoffs a season after we cut him. And I think that would be the most fire story ever. And especially if we beat that motherfucker.
I will say, looking at these AFC teams, I mean, no one's like insanely dominant. I would say the Buffalo Bills, if they can get over their CTE or PTSD. We were talking about CTE before, but PTSD of the playoffs. I mean, the Bills, I think, are that top team, but no teams stand out. It's like it really could break either way. But Dolphins is kind of the next team if they can squeak in there. I mean, I think they have a really important matchup versus the Texans this week. They're a team where, again, Tua, I mean, they've kind of their run game is kind of diminished. They don't really throw deep much anymore. They're not terribly explosive. I'm going to say, I mean, what do you want me to say? Pretender here. I don't know. Without a run game and too much, they have lost a lot of their explosiveness on offense. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dolphins are pretenders. I want to look at their schedule, actually.
So they have Texans this week, and then they have
Texans.
They have Texans, Niners.
That's an important game right there, though.
Yeah, that's
Texans Dolphins game. Like, just playoff AFC standings wise, that's a very important game. I mean, they're not in the same conference. Well, they're
divisional. A lot of tiebreakers.
Yeah, not the same. Yeah. Also. But anyways, yeah.
Conference. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, is it because they're both at AFC? Am I tripping?
Yeah. So they're both AFC, and it's like a lot of tiebreakers. If it's not head to head, it's I believe.
Yeah, but the Dolphins are AFC East, right?
Okay. Texans are South.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was saying. Like, they're not in the same region or whatever. But anyways, that's gonna be a good game. Who else do they play?
So they play Niners, Browns, and Jets. So I mean, it's an easier schedule. I'm not saying they're not going to make it, but even if they sneak in as a 7 seed, you play the Bills first, like in freaking Buffalo. Like, who is winning that game? I don't see it. I know the Bills don't have I mean, last year they played, I think the Bills in Buffalo the same. Last year, I believe it was Bills in Buffalo, either the last week or was it the first week of the playoffs, and they kept it close. But without a run game with Tua, it's
Bills
just
like
Buffalo.
Did you mean Bills and Dolphins?
Bills and Dolphins.
Yeah.
Sorry, they played like last week of this. They played last week of the season, but I believe it was the first round of the playoffs that them two played. And with a run game, it's just without a run game, which is kind of diminished for the Dolphins. How do you see Tua going into, you really have to be at home. How do you see him going away into a cold weather game? And I know that he hates that narrative, but it's really true. Like, he just does not do well with the
Yeah.
cold. So,
No.
I
Yeah,
think this is a pretty straightforward pretender. Yeah.
yeah, I agree as well. And honestly, like if we're looking playoffs here for the Broncos, coming from a Broncos fan, Texans need to beat Dolphins. Broncos need to beat Colts, and the Broncos will make the playoffs.
Yeah. And I think once you guys get in there, like I'm looking at it and it's just like out of all the wild card teams, I think the Broncos are actually a team that they present some problems for more of the top teams in the AFC. I mean, the
I agree.
Dolphins just like the Dolphins have clear areas where they're just like the run game's like not good.
Well,
So
their
they have
defense isn't even that great this season.
yeah,
I mean,
they
I
have
don't
clear areas where you're just like
yeah.
no, that's not
Like
they're not going to
I
compete. So
even if they do somehow make the playoffs with their like 26% chance of making it in or whatever they got right now, they're smoked first round. Doesn't matter who they're playing, whether they're playing the fucking Bills or Steelers or whoever, they're cooked. So
yeah.
obvious pretender here.
Brandon Hallam says Broncos versus Colts, battle of my little ponies.
That's funny.
Yes. Bills need the defense to step up. Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
dude. Let's
And
see some more Von Miller sacks, baby. I love Von Miller.
we didn't really discuss the Niners Rams game, but dude, if you're a Bills
Disgusting.
team, you're like the Rams go into Thursday, they lay an egg, they scored 12 points. Why couldn't have they done that against us? And I'm just like, I don't know. The 49ers defense wasn't even that good leading up into this game. That game was a terrible game to watch.
I'm
but
just glad
also
I didn't actually pay attention to it. I just had it playing on my other monitor while I was playing video games too. Yeah, that game was awful.
Well, I mean, first off, I just want to quickly say, Brock Purdy, please, I hope they let him play out his contract.
Yeah,
Because
I like
I'm
Brock
gonna make
Purdy.
a whole video.
I like Brock Purdy. I'm not gonna lie. I like Brock Purdy, but yeah, it's the
He
same
can't
shit with
play in the
CJ
rain.
Stroud. And it's the same shit with CJ Stroud this year. I mean, not the rain, but it's like they're both good quarterbacks. I just think there's something else going on, some underlying factor that's kind of holding them back this season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't pinpoint what it is, but there's something going on there.
I know for Purdy, it's like, well, first off, I mean, any Packers game last year in the playoffs, it was raining. Like, he's just not a quarterback that plays well in the elements because he has small hands, smaller quarterback. Also, the offensive line. I mean, we haven't had Trent Williams for a few weeks now. The offensive line is terrible. Another reason why I'm not going to say it, but if it doesn't work out next year, we need to fire Kyle Shanahan because, he has not done a good job at building up that offensive line. But I digress. Let's get back to it. Bills lost to both Texans and Ravens already. I know that, but also I think the Bills have also improved quite a bit.
They have
over
tremendously.
The season. And out of everyone in the AFC, I mean, everyone has had bad losses in the AFC. There's not a dominant team, like I said before.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Same with the Broncos losing to the Ravens. Like that should have been a much closer game. I mean, going into the second half, I think the Ravens had like a 2-score lead, but I think it was just like a touchdown and a field goal, which is very comebackable. Like you can come back from that in 10 minutes in the, even in 5 minutes in the NFL. And that, like you were saying, like everyone has those games where like you're just not 100% and you're gonna lose or something. The Chiefs should have a lot more of those games if we're being real. The Chiefs should be fucking 1-12 this season. I digress.
Dolphins 2-11 versus teams over 500 last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, that's a stat I wish I had popped up in front of me because I would have brought that up. But thank you, Brandon Hallam, for
Brandon. W. Stat there, buddy.
Do you want to get to the last team, Ravens, and then we can quickly break down the Broncos versus Colts game?
I'm just going to say Ravens contender. I got no other words. I mean,
well, the thing is, they're a weird team.
They are. They really are, and it's kind of confusing because it's like you look at them on paper and it's like you guys should be undefeated, but you're 8-5. Like And it's mainly defensive struggles in that sense.
Well, which is so weird.
Offensive turnovers as well. I think they've had quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Which kind of hurts. But.
It's so weird because, I mean, their defense, obviously, they lost a few guys and they lost Patrick Queen. That was an amazing pickup by the Steelers. What a steal in free agency. But
are you kidding me?
I mean, like Kyle Hamilton, for example, like apparently he's maybe had one interception this year, and he was an all-pro last year.
I think
So
he
like,
got hurt too a couple
yeah, I
weeks
mean, they've
ago,
had
right? Or he
injuries.
got banged up.
Like it's a team that like you would expect like a lot of these defensive guys to stay the same, but like they haven't been as dominant this year, which
Yeah.
is weird. But as long as you have Derrick Henry, who's still doing it at 30 years old, and Lamar Jackson, obviously, but their receiving room still leaves something to be desired. I don't know. It's like Zay Flowers is all right, but he has issues with turning the ball over. So yeah, I mean, contender there, but I don't know. I mean, especially if they start off as a 5 seed, I think they need to real quick. The Steelers are 10-3, they're 8-5. So yeah, I mean, let's say they stay at the 5 seed, they win the first round. I mean, they're going to be playing most of these games on the road, which is going to be tough for them. But again, we'll see. Yeah, that's a quick one.
Yeah, I think
Contender.
Ravens are contenders. I mean, I think what might come to bite them is the defense at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If the defense isn't clicking, I could see, I mean, it's hard to say that the Ravens would drop that low in the wild card to play the Bills, but I could see the Bills fucking stomping them, kind of like a revenge game, like ish, like they lost to him in the regular season. Bills, fired up Josh Allen, fucking, I don't know, but I definitely think they are contenders.
So last topic, Broncos versus Colts. How do you see this game going? This is an important game because, like we were saying before, we were kind of laying out the playoff picture a little bit. Colts 6-7, Broncos 8-5. So they have a little bit of a gap there. But if the Broncos lose, then obviously, I mean, they're one game ahead of the Colts. This is a Colts. They need it probably more than the Broncos, but what are your guys? What are your thoughts on this game? Kind of some keys, some players to watch for, and then I want to look up the Colts schedule and the Broncos schedule going forward.
The Colts have the easiest schedule in the world. They play the Titans, they play the Raiders, I think, and then they play Jacksonville, bro. Like they literally have the easiest fucking schedule ever made, bro. It's actually.
And then wait, who do the Denver Broncos have?
Broncos. So next week we go against the Chargers. Well, okay. So this week we play Colts. Next week we have Chargers, Browns, Chiefs. So yeah,
dang. So more divisional. Yeah,
it's very winnable games. Very winnable games. I said Browns. I meant Bengals. Sorry. Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs after the Colts. Chiefs winnable game. Chargers winnable game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Laney's on my account. That's me right there.
Nice.
Babe, make your own profile and then comment that because you would never catch my ass saying that shit. Anyways, that's funny. Anyways, like I was saying, yeah. So this is a must-win game. This is a must-win game. Because like I said, Colts have a really good, easy schedule coming up. Broncos have a mediocre schedule coming up. This game, I do think the Broncos are going to win. Offensively, I just don't think Indianapolis is that great. I mean, let me pull up their little page here. They've got, Anthony Richardson, who's kind of, dual threat. He'll run it. I'm pretty sure this season he's averaging like 13 yards per pass. Like that's his average like distance that he's throwing.
I mean, the inaccuracy has been terrible. That's why he got benched in the first place. I mean, I know he's improved, but I mean,
still, it's like the only good thing I can say.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'll let you go. You say it.
Well, I mean, just like 40. He's not a good passer. I think with him, it's just like, I think you guys match up so well because you can stop the run. You have a good pass rush. Your defense, like this game is going to be the type of game. I think they maybe get to like 14 points at the most, But it's just
The
like,
Colts?
okay, yeah, at the
Yeah.
most. I'm saying
Yeah.
at the most. They barely beat New England. They got destroyed by Detroit. They barely beat New York. They got beat by Houston, barely beat Miami. And so, I mean, if they can keep this game low scoring, then yeah. But I just don't think the Broncos now coming off of a bye, they get 2 weeks with this team. I don't even think this is going to be a close game. I know that I'm not a Broncos fan, but I mean, realistically here, you have a Colts team who their offense is not going to produce. I mean, they have Jonathan Taylor, who's great, but anytime they throw the ball, I mean, it's Anthony Richardson with how good the Broncos corners have been this year. Now, do you know if who is the white corner, Riley Moss?
Yeah, right. So Riley Moss. Okay,
that's important.
So this is another thing I was going to talk about. So Riley Moss is out this week. Back over to this page. Our backup, because clearly last week, what's his face did not do very good for us. Fucking Steelers guy.
No, I know what you're talking about. He got that's what I was about to get to. It's like he got destroyed by Jerry Jeudy.
Gosh, who
cooked.
was it, dude? I'm trying to remember his name. I'm scrolling here. I'm trying to find it. Anyways, bro got cooked. So next up, I've been seeing PD from Chat Sports. He's been talking Chris Abrams-Drain, another rookie. And then when they put him in last week, he did look decent. He only had a few snaps though, so that's it's kind of up in the air between him or oh gosh. Sorry, I'm looking for names.
No, you're good. I mean, as well as so while you're doing all that, I mean, I could also pull up a few more things. It's just like I don't see Anthony Richardson having much success there. Their offense, the Colts offense, has been pretty bad all year. So whatever production you get out of him is great. And then it's really just relying on it. I think this Broncos offense is going to continue. Their trajectory is moving up. Again, Colts running defense or stopping the run all year, they're like 22nd in the league stopping the run. So again, it's not even like nothing on that Colts defense really poses a threat for you. And so what's the like talent wise, the Broncos are better offensively. They're gonna at least they're hot. They're gonna put up at least 20, 24 points. And then it's just like, I don't trust Anthony Richardson enough. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, the way I see this game going, yeah, I mean, with or without, with or without Riley Moss, whether it's Damari Mathis filling in or Chris Abrams-Drain filling in, just don't put in Levi Wallace unless you're in the red zone, please, because Levi Wallace just cannot keep up. Like he's just too old, and it's nothing against him. I do think he's a good football player, and that's why I say keep him in the red zone, maybe just so he doesn't have these speedy fucking guys flying past him, because that's the issue. It's not that he's a bad player. He's just not quick. He's older. He's a veteran. Like, been in the league for 11 years, I think, or something like that. Like, he's old and he can't keep up with fucking Jerry Jeudy, who's a speed demon, who's in, like, his 5th year or something. He's still young, like, fourth year, I think. I don't know.
He's in the same draft class as Brandon Ayuk, so that would be 5th year. Yeah.
Yeah, 5th year, yeah. So, I don't know. I think the Broncos are going to win. I think it's going to be I almost want to say it's going to be a very defensive game, but at the same time, I don't think Indy's defense I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton too well. I do think the running game might be stepped up this week with Jaleel McLaughlin potentially being the RB1. I mean, I don't think they're running Javonte too much now because they saw last week what Jaleel could do compared to Javonte. So, yeah. Do you want to do like scores?
Predictions? Yeah, I mean, I'll say it. I think it's going to be 27-13. Broncos win this one pretty handily. It's also, is the game, hold on. Is it in, I mean, either way, is it Mile High?
It's a home game, yeah.
Yeah, not even, not even close. Again, like you said, I mean, okay, if you put like Pittman, but I think they're gonna have Surtain trailing
Yeah.
Pittman or Josh Downs the whole entire game.
See, okay.
And
Yeah. I
yeah,
can agree with that.
if you establish a run game as Indianapolis, then maybe, but they haven't really shown that they really want to do that all year. And it's just like Anthony Richardson all season, he showed, okay, he's going to make one or two mistakes all season. He's going to throw an interception or two. And so it's just like, if you're the Broncos, you could play this game super boring. You could just, as long as you don't turn the ball over, don't make stupid mistakes, run the
Yeah,
ball,
and
go ahead. Yeah.
let me add on to this. I think the way that the Broncos win this game, if it's close, like if it's a close game for whatever reason, they're going to win by turnovers because the Broncos make
Yeah.
turnovers. Like
Yep.
you saw it in the Browns game. They needed a turnover. They got fucking 3 of them. 2 pick sixes, 1 interception to, I mean, the game was over, but 1 interception to seal the deal at the very end of the game. I mean, like the Broncos will find a way to make turnovers and win games. And we saw that clear as day on the Browns game. So I think,
Yeah.
I think turnovers are going to be a big key. And yeah, the Broncos and Bo Nix, they don't like really turn the ball over that much. I mean, I think Bo Nix has 8 picks this season, but a lot of them have been bouncing off like Lil Jordan Humphrey's hands, or I think I've maybe seen 2 or 3 picks that are genuinely Bo Nix's fault, and 2 of those were early in the season. Last one was last game against the Browns. He had 2 picks. One of them was a tipped fucking bullshit up in the air catch. The other one was just an overthrow, and you're gonna get that with rookie quarterbacks. But yeah, I'm taking the Broncos. Ooh, we'll say 30. Trying to think here. 30. I want to say like that's tough. Thinking 32 to 17.
That's not that's a good score. It's also like, Jameis Winston and Anthony Richardson, they're not the same player, but
Or
like
31. I meant 31. 31.
31-17. Yeah, that's a good score. Right. Again, it's also just like, can the Browns actually like almost, I think they're a top 3 team in pressure, like plays that where they bring blitzes.
Yeah. Well, and they have Myles Garrett.
Can the Colts generate that? I don't think so.
I don't
it's
think
just
so.
like,
because they don't have a Myles Garrett. And let's keep in mind too, did Myles Garrett get a fucking sack on Monday Night Football? I don't think so. No one sacked Bo Nix. Like the offensive line is doing phenomenal this season. I mean, like, yeah, there's some plays where it breaks down and Bo's got to run and whatever, you know what I mean? But dude, Garrett Bowles, brand new contract, 84 million for 2 years, I think. Like, I love that. He's been locked down this season. I think he's like, PFF ranks him 16th right now out of all 100 and whatever tackles. That's great, dude. I mean,
do you think, I have a question for you. Before we get off of this topic, did you have anything else to say? I mean, I was
no,
going to
you're
ask,
good. You're good.
Bo Nix over under 40 rushing yards. Like, I know he was a big rusher. Like, do you think they kind of keep him as like a pocket, like not as many runs as we were seeing earlier in the season? I know the last few games.
And you've seen that slow. I know you don't really watch, but we've seen that slow down because, as I was saying, I think I can't remember if it was before the stream or during the stream earlier, but he's gotten more comfortable in the pocket and he's giving more time to let his second reads and his third reads follow through. And that's also thanks to the offensive line. As I was saying, the offensive line is holding the fuck down. And, but when, that guy like fucking, let's say we play the Steelers, like TJ Watt comes off the line and he's pressuring Bo Nix. Bo has proven that he can get out of those situations and still either make a pass or just run up the field. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Broncos win 77-0. Overly, they flip what the Dolphins did to them last season.
But they shut them out.
Exercise those demons. Anyways, guys, this has been almost an hour and a half. First off, great show.
W show.
We should do this again.
Yeah, dude. I had a blast coming on here. We gotta get our boy Zach on here next time too.
Shout out to him.
Zach. Couldn't make it tonight, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, hour and a half through. Thanks for joining. Again, subscribe to the Camper Report if you want to follow Kyle. I mean, real quick, do you want to promote your Instagram? I
Yeah.
should have done this at the beginning of the show, but
No, we're chilling,
getting
dude. No
into it.
worries. Instagram, Kyle B himself, letter B. YouTube, Kyle space MF space Beck, whatever. Anyways, I mean that's basically it, man. Go Broncos, Broncos country. Let's ride. Super Bowl bound here soon, boys. I feel it. I feel it in my balls. And I got good balls, so
Anyway, so
sorry.
I mean, unlike my team, the Niners
Trash.
Yeah, we've got a lot to do, and I don't know. I think we're gonna enter the dark days soon. But
bandwagon Broncos fan this season, Ben? I don't know.
Nah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I even question if I'm a fan anymore because it's like I live my life so much through fan. Like after week 2, I like mentally checked out because we lost to the Vikings. I was like, fuck. And then
we're trash.
Ever since Christian McCaffrey just has been non-existent, it's just like I've kind of mentally checked out and kind of lived my life through fantasy football. So am I even a real fan? I don't know.
Who knows at this point, dude?
So guys, again, this is like first stream back for me in like 8 months. So once a week, I'm going to try to get at least a video out, a live stream, whether it be Kyle or a few guests that I bring on. I know next week I'll have Grant Cohn, 49ers content creator, on. I'm hoping to have him on next week. And then videos, we'll have clips of this show throughout the week, probably this week, coming out. So stay tuned for all of that, guys.
Everybody subscribe to the Camper Report. Everyone subscribe.
Thank you.
Camper Report, shout out. Thanks for having me on, Ben. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was when you were like, so I remember like a few weeks ago telling you about my channel, and then you were like, we need to do a show or talk Broncos, and I was like, sure, because I know that I haven't been on in a while, so you definitely gave me that like push to like start my channel again. And dude. So guys, that has been Kyle. This is the Camper Report. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you guys later.
Good night, everyone.
Hope to be here soon.